Federal workers are freaked out, now reeling over Trump's buyout offer, saying, the federal government, our current job right now is the last lifeboat in town. What are we going to do? Trump sent out a mass email to all of the federal employees saying, you have a couple options. There's a fork in the road. You can take this retirement package and leave, or you can stay around and we'll determine what happens next. There's also deep suspicion, especially among people who think they may be on the chopping block. This is the last lifeboat in town, said one employee. Here is the scope of this. 2 million people still reeling after receiving a mass email that offered them a chance to preemptively resign ahead of additional and unspecified Trump efforts to shrink the government, right? It's like a bluff. If you think you're good and you're doing something useful here, stay around and we'll confirm that or not. Or if you have questions about this, maybe you want to take this retirement package. The terms of a stark but murky ultimatum, unclear and likely subject to legal interpretations, upwards of hundreds of thousands of individual employees are struggling with what to do. What should we do? Increasingly uncertain about the stability of their jobs and their agencies. And I have individual empathy for people in these positions. We don't want good people to have their lives uprooted and have chaos and instability in their lives as a general principle. But we also are cognizant of the fact that the federal government should not be in this unique position where they are immune from any of the realities of life. Okay, so for example, every other component of this world has to deal with the consequences of ineffectiveness. If you're not doing a good job, you get fired, right? If you can't produce an outcome, you're not useful to the entity. All of us have to deal with that on an ongoing basis in the private sector or in a non-government sector where there's not this endless promised employment and money. And we went through this individually ourselves as private small business owners back during COVID when there was a ton of this chaos, mistrust, and confusion. And the federal government was lecturing us about who was essential and not essential. Remember that crap? And they didn't give us 8-month severance packages at all. And they didn't just turn around and have empathy with us. In fact, they came out and said, you do these things or you're contributing to a winter of misery and death and all this stuff. And they said that was necessary to operate the government, to operate the country and all of this stuff. So you can forgive me if we're lacking in institutional empathy in any way, shape, or form, because the federal government has been unaccountable for decades, and the rest of us exist in our jobs with low-grade anxiety. Man, I could get fired any minute. The whole channel could be demonetized tomorrow, right? It has happened here. So you could have your business, like we were representing people who were out and about when I was practicing and running my law firm, who were out and about and doing things. When you lock everything down, your business goes away overnight. It's gone, right? The federal government and the people responsible for implementing those things are now just being brought up to par with the rest of us, right? The rest of us could all lose our jobs. Something bad could happen, right? AI can come in and all these massive changes. So now there's parity. Now there's equity, as they say. So we're happy now that there's going to be some real skin in the game on this. And we're hopeful that these conversations are fruitful and that the people who make a decision or who let go are able to use this experience to make their life go into a better direction in whatever way, shape, or form that is. So chaos, mistrust, and confusion, said one employee, says there's a deep suspicion, especially among people who think they may be on the chopping block, that this is the last lifeboat in town. Yeah, where else are you going to go? Trump, who spent years decrying the deep state, has long wanted to reduce the government's footprint, frustrated over what he saw as an overly lenient work from home policy 5 years after COVID began. Trump has empowered Elon to come in and streamline the government, but the vague order has nearly ground the massive bureaucracy to a halt and has the potential to create a crisis that might backfire. We'll see. The blanket approach, which is pure Elon, is going to have unintended consequences down the road, said this person. Elaine, a government studies fellow at Brookings who oversaw Clinton's initiative, said, what if a third of the nation's air traffic controllers take this buyout? We'll figure it out. Or if all the CDC scientists leave for the private sector. Okay, bye, good. And there's a tuberculosis epidemic. What are they going to do? Lock us down again to slow the spread? Might actually work for that. That's the risk with the way they've done it. It's using a blowtorch for a very small issue. It's not small. This is massive. The email, which was sent on Tuesday evening by OPM, offered everybody an option to resign and to be paid through September, but offered no guarantees about future employment if they chose to stay. So you take it or you stay. And if you stay, you might get fired and not get any of it. Although it was sent unsigned by the agency, many of the federal employees saw the fingerprints of Musk, who applied the same slashing approach over at Twitter. Now, in fact, the subject line was very similar. This one was called Fork in the Road as the subject line. It reflected Musk's determination to take an axe to the federal bureaucracy and offered an early indication that the unelected billionaire, is going to run Doge, telling us, it's unfathomable, said one DOJ employee. Please. It's unfathomable. The panic that it is causing throughout the government. Oh, no. Yeah. And it's intentional. Yeah, that's right. It is. The new head of OMB, Russ Vought, who's not even been confirmed yet, said he wanted to traumatize the federal servants into leaving, and it's working. Yep. Remember when they mandated that our military men and women do certain things or else they get thrown out? Remember the chaos and kind of the fear that caused for them and their families? Tim Whitehouse, the executive director at the Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility, he's getting fired, a nonprofit that provides legal services to federal workers, has been fielding calls on the resignation requests. Said the employees we are speaking with to view this email as another tool to inflict pain and trauma on the federal government workforce. They understand this is not really a buyout. It may be illegal and that it does not guarantee that they're going to be able to stop work before the 30th. Because of the number of agencies and employees, it shows the administration's blow it all up approach is going to reduce the size of government. Now, over the course of the day on Wednesday, unions representing federal workers mobilized, and they implored members not to take the deal, saying, don't quit, stay there. Steve Lankart, executive director of another federal employees union, said, don't trust this administration to hold up their deal. And we don't see how this is legal anyways. The American Federation of Government Employees also emailed saying, don't take this offer at face value. When the email went out on Tuesday, the distribution list was so large that it hit in waves. Did you get the email? Did you get the email? As the text messages started to fly, some people didn't know at first what their panicked colleagues were up in arms. What are they talking about? Then they checked their email. Oh, it's in there. Inside the DOJ, the Assistant Attorney General dashed off an all-staff email confirming the legitimacy. Okay, DOJ's, that's real. Every DOJ staffer got it. It's like music to my ears. Managers being peppered with questions didn't have any answers. Like me? Yeah, you. Me too? Yes, you. All of you. You all got it. But I'm like, important. I worked so hard for 20 years. Yeah, you too. Make a decision. That left recipients trying to make a sense of media reports that the entire federal workforce had been offered buyouts, parsing the email's language, stating that those who opt to remain are thereby committed to an improved federal workforce. But the email said we could still fire you anyways. So we cannot give you full assurance regarding the certainty of your position, the email said. Only that when you're fired, you will be treated with dignity. Now, the alternative, of course, is they could take a deferred resignation program that would be available to opt into over the next week simply by replying to the email, resign. That's all. One word, just reply, resign. You're done. Don't need to have a meeting. Don't need to have a conversation. Don't need to go through a performance review evaluation. Just tell us you're done and you're done. Otherwise, we don't know. Doing so would allow these employees to retain all pay and benefits regardless of your daily workload and be exempted from all applicable in-person work requirements until the 30th. Someone said, the second DOJ employee, they're freaked. The DOJ is like the worst, by the way. So if any of them got to go, it should be the DOJ. We got tons of local prosecutors. We got so many prosecutors all over this country. We don't need a whole federal agency filled with a bunch of useless folks. It really felt like we were being asked to resign. Yeah. And if we decided not to resign, like we were being asked to swear allegiance to a new form of government that does its job and doesn't round up grannies for January 6th. Said, it seems very clear that if we do not take that and resign, that our jobs are in serious jeopardy. I got the memo. That DOJ employee. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, exactly. A single parent, that employee was struggling with whether to preemptively abandon a decade-spanning career doing work they felt was important to the federal bureaucracy. It's not important work. You might feel it's important, but it's not. In order to ensure their ability to provide for their family. So here come the sob stories. Yeah, I'm not a risk taker. Every single option right now is a risk. Welcome to America. Welcome to real life and the country. Yeah, it's risky. That's the point. You have to create some urgency so that you perform. We don't want you to have a job where you're just complacent and just sitting there sucking off the government teat for decades and calling it a career as you're not producing anything. Everyone else takes risks. A third DOJ employee said that an initial enthusiasm on Tuesday night about being offered several months of severance, at least among those already planning to depart, gave way to rising suspicion on Wednesday and the grimmer realization that things were likely not what they seemed to be. Now, here's the other problem, right? If they all leave, then there's going to be a surplus of mostly useless, I won't say all useless, but mostly useless government workers going into the private sector. They're going, where'd you work? Oh, for the government? For what? 20 years? 15 years? Doing what? No thanks. Everyone else is, I don't trust them, the third employee said. The email they went on doesn't seem real. There's no guidance. It seems like it will be challenged, right? They're all looking for someone else to help them. So it comes down to, are you really willing to go to the casino and put your career on black? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The OPMs, we didn't even have that choice, right? We had to fight for our businesses. They gave us a PPP and stuff like that, and then wrecked the entire economy. Great. The OPM's email language about offering workers a dignified option, the third employee continued, it makes it seem like it's a warning that there will be an undignified action coming for those who don't take it, and that it hit when agencies are already struggling to understand the impact of the freeze that was since rescinded and then really not rescinded. It feels like there is enough chaos and there is an implied malice behind the chaos. It's not malice, it's just efficiency, and that it makes it very difficult to plan your next step, said the third DOJ employee. Yeah, we know what that's like. We had COVID. You guys were coming after businesses and corporations that were challenging the lockdowns at the DOJ. I wonder if this person worked on those. All three DOJ employees expressed a shared concern that their agency and their jobs could be in even greater jeopardy than others across the executive branch because of what they've done. Good. The panic over the last 24 hours, though, is not just unique to the DOJ. EPA's freaked too. It was the craziest email I've ever read, said the EPA employee. These people have a history of shorting workers. There's no way I'm sending resign to this jinky email address. Oh, that dude's fired immediately. All right, you're gone. A USAID employee boiled down the impact to a forced return to work. They say there's a lot more fear and uncertainty in the office, noting that there's a lot more interest in federal employee unions, right? So we got to go find someone else who's going to save us. This happens every day in America. Every single day, there's a buyout or a merger or a new CEO or someone comes in to run your department or someone. It's every day in this country, in every office, everywhere. Fear and uncertainty exists all over the place. Maybe to different level degrees, but we all have it. Now they're getting a taste of it. It's not really a buyout, but it's clearly part of this shock and awe approach, said a State Department official, to cajole and scare federal workers into thinking of quitting. At FEMA, one employee said that they and their colleagues were determined to remain in place to continue vital emergency services. Most people saw the OPM email as a scam, they said. Everyone's frustrated, very stressed. It's hard not to be alarmist when you don't know if your pension and your retirement are at risk. Yeah, we know. We have deemed you to be non-essential, okay? Like you did to us. You're non-essential, so you're gone. One Labor Department employee expressed similar frustrations and doubt that the severance package would exceed the $25,000 annual severance pay limit under OPM. You can't do that. This is illegal. I find it hard to believe that they would pay me my full salary for 8 months to sit on my butt. Yeah, but then they're never going to pay you again. See, so that's what makes it worth it. The whole thing is pretty insulting, he says. But also, no choice we have is good. Some people are like, is it better to have some control over my fate with a set end date? And others are like, I will die before I give them the satisfaction. That's great. They're all exposing who they are. This is working better than expected. The DOL employees added that for now, they aren't planning on opting into the resignation program. I'd rather be fired for resisting and making their lives hell. See that? Perfect. Who is that person? You're gone. And a number of federal employees expressed similar sentiments anonymously on Reddit. Before the email went out, someone wrote on Reddit, I was looking for any way to get out of this fresh hell, but now I'm fired up to make these goons as frustrated as possible. Return to office, be damned. Okay, so don't come back to the office and you'll just get fired. Another employee responded to that post in kind saying, I was chill and laid back prior. Now I'm digging my heels in out of spite. All right. Well, this is going to be a lot of fun. So as you can see, those are the types of employees who are working for the federal government, and now they're exposing who they are truly. They're just there to get on a payroll, to get their paycheck, to collect their pension. We don't need them in the federal government. They have been deemed to be non-essential, and good riddance to them.